See, I can't do the squeaking.
Still, don't move in your chair.
I know, seriously. Welcome to the Cricket Table Podcast. This is Rob.
This is Freddy.
So, as promised, we're back here on Friday to discuss Season 2 of Daredevil. Thus far, we've watched the first 6 episodes of the 13-episode season. So we're going to get a little more in-depth on that, as well as Freddy's finally caught up with 10 Cloverfield Lane, so we'll get his thoughts on that. So, I guess just starting things off, let's get into 10 Cloverfield Lane, since it's the freshest in your mind.
Yes.
And before we get lost in Hell's Kitchen.
Yes.
So, what did you think of the film? I said last time, kind of my thoughts on it, that I thought it was pretty much as strong as, if not somewhat stronger than the first one, and sort of like, to temper your expectations as far as monsters and all that was concerned. So, what was your thoughts?
I thought that it was a lot better than the first one.
Yeah, you had issues with the found footage thing specifically, I remember.
Yeah, just a shaky camera. But also, I felt the story was more solid, and the actors were really good in this movie, all of them, and
all like 3 basically who have major roles.
All 3 of the
spoilers
actors.
for 10 Cloverfield Lane, just FYI for people listening to this, because we'll probably get into that.
I thought it was like its own movie pretty much. The only thing that had any resemblance to the first one was that there's aliens and that it's on Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Well, in the Cloverfield mentioned.
The first one, they never even explicitly, it's a hard word. They never explicitly say that it is aliens. I feel like this movie kind of been like, yep, they're from space. And there's an Easter egg at the end of the first one where, it's I don't know if you remember the first one, but it's cutting between like the video of them running through the city and crazy shit happening, and like the central 2 characters, like the central couple, sort of on a anniversary trip or whatever when they were happy together. And there's one part where you see like in the background where they're just like smiling at the camera, like a satellite falling, and I guess that was supposed to be like the beginning of that awoke the Cloverfield monster. And then the connection there that's people are reading into it is the fact that John Goodman's character worked for a company that dealt with satellites and that kind of thing. So now they're kind of speculating, well, what was his role in that? Or was that the company that he worked for and that kind of thing? But
how he got the tip off?
Yeah.
In the first place.
Most of the connections are sort of speculative and tangential, and that they're like, well, maybe this, but they don't ever say like, this happened right before the other movie or right after, or they don't even reference the events in New York that happened in the first movie.
Yeah, I feel like the highway is probably Cloverfield. Like it's called Cloverfield Highway or
the Cloverfield Expressway or something.
Yeah, I think that's what, because it's the address is 10 Cloverfield Lane,
right?
And it would just make sense that that would be the address off of the highway, because that's what she goes on at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And also I read that I think it was the Bad Robot or whatever.
J.J. Abrams production company.
Their like offices are right near a highway that's called like Cloverfield.
Oh, really?
As well. Like there's like a Cloverfield something near their office.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think that might have some semblance.
That would also give them, like, if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, and what this movie indicates that they're going to do, which is series of standalone films made by first-time directors, sort of set in the same world, but not really having anything to do with each other. If the Cloverfield name sort of covers such a wide range of destinations, or such a wide descriptive term, that opens them up to make like infinite films that are sort of split off of based on.
Well, I think they call it the Cloverfield tapes, or because that might be where they attacked first,
right?
So that might be like, oh, they're attacking. These are the Cloverfield tapes because they showed up near Cloverfield, and then everything happened there. Right. And then, they might have spread onward and everything, because they mentioned, like, oh, go to Baton Rouge because we need fighters and medical people. And so, yeah, of course they spread, but right. I think it started there, so maybe that's why it's called Cloverfield. I don't know.
How did you feel? I mean, I sort of tipped you off to the fact that don't go in being like monsters, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the fact that basically the whole movie was the three of them in the room and sort of trying to figure out, is he 100% crazy? Is he sort of telling the truth? Is he not? What's going on? What's the deal with that? Did he run her off the road? And there's all this speculation as to what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I thought that I'm glad I went to the movie not knowing that, because I felt like that would have maybe I would be expecting some alien thing to happen the whole time and then it not happen. So I was glad that I knew that going into it. But I thought it was maybe going to be a little bit slow, and I maybe was going to be like counting the minutes, but it actually flew by really fast.
Good. So it wasn't like The Witch.
Very enjoyable.
It wasn't like The Witch where you're like, what the fuck? This is not scary at all.
The Witch went on forever. So.
And I actually purposefully sort of oversold it, being like, don't go in expecting monsters, because there are some towards the end. So,
well, what's funny is that John Goodman is technically a monster.
Well,
himself.
that's why the poster is like, monsters come in many forms, sort of playing off that expectations. And people are like, well, there's got to be a Cloverfield monster. Like, yeah, it's John Goodman this time.
Yeah, John Goodman is almost he's even scarier almost than the aliens.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Did you like that? Did it work for you when she finally got out of the room and all of a sudden there's little monsters running after her and ships flying around her, where you're like, what the fuck kind of movie are we in now?
Yeah. I liked it. I thought things happened at very opportune moments for her, though.
It was a little, I mean, I listened to a podcast, I don't remember which one right at the moment, but they were saying that the last 20 minutes of the movie or whatever felt like totally weird, like different, shifted, and I think it was the / Filmcast I listened to.
The tone of the movie.
Shifted, and it was almost sort of...
Genre shifted.
Yeah, it was almost sort of Independence Day-ish, where she's like, I'm gonna get this bottle and throw it in his mouth. It's like Welcome to Earth type of, like, what the,
It's very convenient
that
is
that
what
you're
happening
referring
like
to?
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
She's like, oh, snap. She's getting picked up, and you're like, oh, she's done. And no.
It was very convenient that the place that she hid in, the woman was there with the keys to the car. And then that's where it led to... It's very convenient that the mask was right there when they were spraying the poisonous... flesh-eating whatever bacteria acid that was.
I have to rewatch that first movie to see if there was if any of the creatures in the first movie had, like, I think some of them did have, like, acid spewing capabilities or something. I have to rewatch it. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I liked it a lot when I saw it before, so.
Yeah, but I liked, that, it was good, though. I liked, the part that was crazy was, of course, when he takes the hydrochloric acid out the bin, and he just shoots him in the face because he tried to take the rap for having having the scissors and all this stuff, and he was going to use a weapon to against him or whatever. And so I kind of saw it coming, because I knew this guy's he's off and everything, and he probably he didn't seem like he liked him in the first place.
Well, the fact that he had a barrel of acid that, dissolved like human flesh was already sort of like, okay, now this is looking even more suspicious.
Well, but they were looking at each other like, oh, the woman's probably stored in that. Yeah. Because they never found her.
Right.
So that when they pulled that out, they both looked at each other like, are we looking at a barrel of acid that, corroded this girl that went missing a long time ago, and he just got tired of her and everything, and he just cut her up, put her in this barrel pretty much. Mm-hmm. And so it's fucked up. Well, but it was a big turnaround. I knew he was crazy. I thought maybe he had he just wanted everything to be in place, sort of have rules and maybe some sort of disorder, but I didn't think that he was a kidnapper.
Right. Well, that's what the movie kind of plays on, is whether or not he's a murdering psychopath, or he's just one of those extremists who's we have to the aliens are coming, we have to prepare and all that.
Initially that's
survivalist type.
That's initially when it the question.
Right.
But then after a while, you do realize that he is an abductor.
Oh my God, there's that.
And that she was right. I mean, he did save her, but
right.
he was also abducting her for that reason as well.
Right.
And we don't know if it's actually an accident. He says so, but we don't know if it's on purpose or not.
Clearly, he's not the most trustworthy character in the film.
I think that he had plans to kill that guy to begin with, and because as soon as he was just looking for a reason to kill him.
Yeah.
And as soon as he killed him, like, his mood changed completely. He was like, I'm glad that we can finally be ourselves together. He shaved.
Yeah, you noticed that too, right?
Yeah.
That was creepy.
He combed his hair. He dressed up nice.
Do you think that he was, like, sexually assaulting these girls too? Or you think I mean, the fact that the other guy's gone and he's like, but competition's out. And he's like, I have to, like, pretty myself up for her, sort of, in a way.
I don't know if he was sexually assaulting the girls.
Because they never really get into that.
I think he was maybe replacing his daughter.
Right.
Because his daughter
got taken
away and he didn't see her, so he decided to kidnap other women and have them pose as his daughter.
Right.
That's why he called her. Yeah, with the same clothes. That's why he called her Megan. And so now this woman's replacing Megan.
Right.
So Megan, replacing the woman that's replacing Megan.
Pretty much. What the movie does really well is it keeps you guessing the whole time through, and it's basically playing off of the, like, okay, well, is he really crazy, or are there really aliens? And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, he's really crazy, and there are aliens. It's like, it doesn't have to be an either or situation. It's kind of, no, but they're not mutually exclusive. He can save this woman because of aliens, but then also want to murder her.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever. And I really like the scene when they're playing, whatever, it's Taboo or whatever, and he's like, I'm watching you, I see everything you do, and blah, 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 and you, as the viewer, you're like, holy shit, this is fucking scary, that he knows what's up, or whatever, and then Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character is the one's like, oh, you're Santa Claus. Yeah. And he's like, no, it wasn't your turn, I'm still keeping the point, and that whole thing, like that tone back and forth, with, like, the tension builds, and then sort of releases with, like, a light moment. The movie does a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think John Goodman deserves, like, awards nominations or something for this? Because the whole film, and I say this in the video that I have on YouTube, and people can see that in Crooked Table Review on YouTube. Do you think that his performance, which really hinges, the whole movie really kind of depends on him making that character work?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that it's strong enough to stick in people's minds down, later in the year?
Well, I don't know what the lineup exactly is for.
Well, it's too early to tell.
It's too early, yeah. But I think his performance was very well done. Yeah. And I would like to see him for an Oscar, but I haven't seen the other. It's not going to be till later to see, like, whether or not, because there could be a lot of good movies and there could be a lot of good roles. Right. And he could just be cast aside because of those maybe better roles and better actors.
The fact that he's a character actor.
Not that they're better, but, like, in the movie, maybe they're actors. Right. Or the content of the movie
is more Oscar friendly. That I think is probably its biggest obstacle, that it's a character-based drama, but it's also framed under, like, the sci-fi horror franchise.
Exactly. Yeah.
That most Academy members would be like, that's bullshit. But it gets beginning really.
Most you can get is sci-fi, like a cinematography or.
Well, Ex Machina got visual effects. That was pretty impressive. That made everybody happy. But the fact that he's a character actor who's been working for decades and pretty much, everybody kind of loves him and everything. It really bodes well for the fact that if anybody's going to get through that, it might be John Goodman. So, have you seen Red State yet? I know I let you borrow it, and because John Goodman's in that. That's why I'm asking.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, well, you should see that and let me know what you think, because some of his performances, like, you didn't expect him from the guy from Roseanne to deliver such, dramatically heavy performances, but he's similarly sort of a major focal point in that movie. Definitely a very different performance. but also worthwhile. And that's another movie. That's a movie that really went under a lot of people's radar because it doesn't entirely work with what it's trying to do. But it is Kevin Smith kind of taking a chance, and the fact that John Goodman's in it in like a very dramatic role. I think it's worth sort of watching to compare his work in both films.
Okay.
So, any other final thoughts on 10 Cloverfield Lane? You're excited to see more, like if they do more Cloverfield films?
What I thought about this movie is that I thought that they made it like sort of like a very, very low budget indie film on purpose.
Yeah.
As a way to finance a larger scale blockbuster movie.
Okay.
I thought it was maybe like a smart, because maybe they wouldn't give him the funds up front for a sequel to Cloverfield.
If you can even call it a sequel, sort of.
Well,
a follow-up of whatever kind.
No, a sequel to the Cloverfield movie, maybe people fighting aliens. This isn't really a sequel. It's like a separate entity.
Yeah, sort of.
So, it's like in the same universe, but it's like separate. So, I feel like this was just like to try and raise money for another movie.
Maybe. I mean, I kind of like the idea of keeping the scale kind of small, but I mean, there's some truth to that possibly. And J.J. Abrams was also obviously made Star Wars around the same time as this film was being done. So, I think it's interesting, from a creative standpoint, he probably was looking to do something a little different. Okay, we're going to do the $200 million Star Wars movie, but then let's do this movie cost $5 million.
Yeah.
Which is, when you think about it, sort of nothing. Considering most of that budget probably went towards that last 20 minutes with the effects.
Exactly.
And then, the three actors, two of which are more established than the other guy is.
Yeah.
I'm sure they also took up decent chunks, but still, they probably took pay cuts for this movie as well.
Yeah.
And, if they were going to keep it a secret, like they obviously accomplished in doing so, if you were to have like a very effects-heavy movie, that would involve a bigger crew and more likely that information would leak out, in between production and, theatrical release.
Yeah.
So it also made it easier for them to keep things down because if you think about the movie, even the big effects shots at the end, it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead like in a field with CG aliens. There's nobody else there, so there wouldn't really be like, there's not, you don't need to shoot it like on crowded streets or like lots of extras or whatever. It's just like her running around.
Yeah.
So if you have a small team of special effects people to handle that, you don't really lend yourself to as much scrutiny. And I like that idea of them kind of out of nowhere dropping a trailer and be like, guess what? We made this, by the way, in our spare time. And I don't want them to lose that entirely, but maybe, based on this success, they can bump it up to 20, 30 million, whatever, and still be sort of low budget.
They can do a low budget movie, but they won't be able to go to this scale. Right. Just because if you try a low budget film at this scale, it won't register as well. You already tried in the cellar. The way the story is going now, she's going to a base or a fighting place or whatever.
But that's unless they go.
If they follow up. But if they go to like another, so what are you going to go follow another survivor and they're like stuck in a hospital?
Yeah, it's
kind of repetitive.
You can't. Yeah, you can't. If they do another movie, and now that this film did so well, like I said, I think it made $25 million based on opening weekend, based on the $5 million budget, second only to Zootopia last weekend. I think they're gonna have to take an entirely new spin on it. Like it can't be people stranded in a secluded space again. It has to be another maybe lower budget version, but it has to be, I don't know, Walking Dead style, where they're wandering around a wasteland after the alien attack or something like that. It's got to be a different approach because, like you said, if you do like, this small group of people, they're trapped in a different kind of building, that wouldn't work. And and that doesn't seem to be what the franchise is about, considering the first one was basically like a found footage Godzilla movie, and now the second one's like a bunch of people trapped underground. So. Did you like the way her arc tied up itself by the end? The fact that in the beginning she's like always running away from things, and that boyfriend that called her, by the way, which was Bradley Cooper in a voice cameo.
Oh, okay.
They established by the end she's like, I'm not going to run away from things. I'm stronger than this. I'm a survivor. And so she goes into to help because she's already kicked so much ass in the cellar. She's probably like, I got this. I can do something good now. Yeah. I just fucking took out an alien by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So give me some bottles of alcohol and a lighter, and I got this. So yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Crooked Table approved by both Freddie and I. So definitely check that out before Batman v Superman comes out and blows everybody out of the water.
Exactly.
Which is at least from a financial standpoint.
It's a good weekend to choose it instead of going against that. Unlike the My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, that stupidly decided to choose the weekend where Batman vs Superman is coming out. Which is...
It could be counter-programming. Maybe they feel like they're going after like people like our mom's age who are like, I remember that movie. I'll go see that. I don't want to see these two superheroes punch thing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Counter, yeah. That's, I mean, maybe.
Maybe a different demographic.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think that
if
more...
Cloverfield and Batman v Superman came out the same weekend, that's too much overlap in the audience.
I think Batman v Superman goes to most demographics, though, so it's hard to go against a superhero movie.
That's true.
Because the reason they make so much money is because they appeal to all sorts of audiences. There's no specific, maybe old people would like that, but old people also grew up with the Superman, Batman show, stuff like that. Yeah. So they still like our abuelo, grandfather.
Yeah.
He loves Superman and Batman, and when he found out about it, he was happy about it too.
He? Did he find out about it? Does he know about it?
No, I told him about it.
Does he have any interest in seeing that, or is he just like that's because
he doesn't he doesn't really go to the movies.
Well, he went with us to see Man of Steel, I think, didn't he? Or was that just that was just you, me, and Dad? I don't remember.
I think no, yeah, it was just the three of us.
Okay.
We showed it to him on DVD later.
Oh, okay.
He liked it.
A lot of CG in it. That's why I wonder that's not necessarily his thing.
Yeah, but he liked it still.
Okay.
Regardless.
Cool.
But speaking of verses.
Yeah, there you go. Nice segue.
The new Daredevil season picks up a similar tune.
Oh, did that drop? I wasn't aware.
And we watched, as you said, 6 episodes.
Right.
So
and right before this, you're already like, I gotta watch more.
Yeah, I went through halfway through the 7th episode.
Nice.
And I'm sure many other people are like us and watching 13 hours.
Log on to social media. I guarantee you, people are like, I'm watching episode Daredevil season 2 for the 2nd time or whatever. I'm sure people are marathoning it all day.
Exactly. The big shows like
weekend.
Orange is the New Black and Daredevil and stuff like that. They always like binge watch like the whole season in one day.
So
pretty much.
So the show, season 2 looks like to jump into that now. Sounded like it basically picks up a couple months after the first season ends, something like that. Fisk is locked up, and because at one point Foggy is talking with his ex-girlfriend, on again, off again, whatever they are, Marcy, another attorney. And she's like, I haven't heard from you in months. Weren't they like sort of hooking up like the last part of
the end of the season? Yeah.
Okay, so then it's probably been a few months since Fisk was locked up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, probably the time where Jessica Jones was doing her thing. They were taking a break off, they came back.
It seems like the Netflix arm of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they're all these shows are clearly set in the same world as the Avengers and all that.
Yeah.
It does seem like they're following the similar pattern as the movies in that they, for the most part, take place chronologically. Mm-hmm. So, like, when you watch Daredevil Season 1, that stuff happens before Jessica Jones Season 1, which happens before Daredevil Season 2, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which leads me to believe that Luke Cage will probably then follow up on Jessica Jones, like his appearance there, and not necessarily be like, this happened before he met Jessica Jones, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is...
And maybe even after
good.
Daredevil Season 2.
I mean, that doesn't mean we won't get a lot of flashbacks, because even Daredevil Season 1 was very flashback heavy.
Yeah.
Like, they were constantly jumping back and forth.
You need to see why he's blind and everything.
Why he's...
For people that don't really know,
Yeah.
But Jessica Jones, you don't really need to do that. But there were some flashbacks still.
with Kilgrave and... Reva and all that stuff. But they kept... That was kind of one consistent flashback that they kept going back to, that one scene, and seeing it over and over in different perspectives, because she was like haunted by it, like Luke Cage was.
And I think they showed her a little bit as a girl as well.
Oh yeah, they did
Yeah.
show her like as a kid with Trish and like that whole thing and her family.
But I like how they take the season in elements.
Oh, Daredevil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How it starts off with Daredevil and the Punisher is going and killing all these 3 specific gangs in Hell's Kitchen and some in Delaware. And Daredevil's trying to go in there and you know.
Did he just like pick them off on his way to New York or something? Because at one point they're like, they talk about spoilers for the first 6 episodes of Daredevil. At one point, the attorneys are talking about how he might get the death penalty because he took out some of them in Delaware, like it's off of I-95. So was he like driving to New York? He's like, I'm gonna stop off here and kill some of these motherfuckers. Like tracking them, I guess, backwards.
He probably was just tracking them because he wanted to try and get rid of as many people as he could find that were part of the biker group. So he probably went out of his way to track them down and kill them.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, but when we watched the trailer, the 2-part trailer, not the most recent one, the 2-part that they dropped over the course of a week or two, I think my initial concern at least was it looks like they're taking on a lot of stuff. I hope that they don't like jumble it to the point that it's like Avengers Age of Ultron where it's like, and here's this, and then this is happening, and then this happens, and look, this character comes into it, and let's see how this all plays out, where it's overloaded.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, it's smart that basically the first, like if you go seeing this and you want to see Daredevil versus Punisher, you're like, I want to see these 2 Marvel icons to beating the shit out of each other. You're kind of done with that by the end of episode 4.
Yeah.
Like, there's no more fighting, punchy punch thing.
It would get old fast if it was just like him, like...
But they don't try and drag it out over the season, which I think is interesting. They distill it down. They're almost into, like mini arcs. It's almost like this episodes 1 through 4 are Punisher versus Daredevil. And then maybe episodes 5 through 8 will be, Elektra and Matt dealing with the Yakuza, and then
also
defense of the Punisher.
Defense of Punisher, which I like how they still keep Punisher in there as a part of the story, but it's no longer a concern so much of Daredevil as much. I mean, he covers him, but it's more like a story that Karen goes on then.
Right.
And that's like her story arc.
They split off.
They split off because he's got to do his thing with Elektra.
Right.
But then it's also he has to try and find the balance between the case with Punisher and the stuff that's going on with Elektra.
Right.
So I like that as well. And then maybe a little bit more we'll get into it'll tie into Kingpin, or maybe they'll go see. Maybe they'll go see Kingpin in prison or something.
I'd like to get at least a cameo from him. I understand if they don't want to make...
We know he's going to be in it, because he was at least in a moment of the trailer, so we know he's going to have at least one moment, one scene.
I mean, I understand what they want to do. They don't want to just have it be Daredevil versus Kingpin, round 2, ding ding, because that whole first season was establishing them both as characters, and they were so well fleshed out that... I don't know, kind of focusing solely on them as opposed to putting a similar lens to other Marvel characters that fans really want to see brought to life again, like Punisher, like Elektra, who've been done before in live action, but nobody was really satisfied with any of that. And I'm talking more about Punisher, because there's been 3 movies with him, none of which people really particularly cared for. There's a lot of fans that really like Punisher Warzone, and I like elements of that movie, but it still didn't work for me overall. Where I was like, I want to see more of this, but I like the way he was portrayed there. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe 9 through 12 will be the 3 of them maybe converging together in some way, and then 13 will be like shit goes down. That's it seems to me that they are sort of organizing it by like 4 episode chunks, which I think is a smart way of doing it. Even Jessica Jones was sort of like that too. Because you had Luke and Jessica story up front, and then now he sort of, once he found out the truth about her involvement with Reva's death, he sort of disappeared until episode 10 or something, 11, 12, whatever. I do like that Daredevil wants to fight crime but not kill people. Punisher's like, I want to fight crime and kill people, and then Elektra's sort of in the middle. Like she's sort of like the
She would rather kill people.
The counterpoint?
She would rather kill people, but she's
not ruthless like Punisher is.
Well, she's just going by Daredevil's rules because she needs him still.
Yeah.
So so she's just playing along with it.
It's interesting because you have Daredevil and then these two other heroes that are very much sort of anti-heroes in a way.
Yeah. And I think though we're going to see a little bit more, I don't know, because I haven't watched the rest of the season.
Right.
But I think we might see a little bit more anti-hero in Daredevil. Just because I don't see how the legal system is going to work out with the Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it, I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe Elektra and Daredevil break him out somehow. And that whole, chestnut. So I wouldn't be surprised if he crosses that line.
That could be episode 8 if it goes like with the 4 episode things. Like I said, the defense of Frank Castle ends like end of episode 8, early episode 9, and then leads into that.
Because maybe because he didn't plead guilty, maybe now they'll do like the whole lethal injection thing and stuff. We don't know. And of course, Daredevil's not going to want that to happen to him because he doesn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that in his eyes.
Right.
So I think that then he'll have to cross that line. They'll make him have to cross that line, and Elektra will probably help him just because, they're buddies. In a sense.
She was right off the bat being like, "We're partners." He's like, "Whoa, there's no we. What the hell?"
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty cool. We'll get to her in a bit.
Because maybe she'll find a common interest in him.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be like, "Oh, I can use him too," because she normally doesn't do things so much for other people. She does things more for her.
Maybe that's the big issue a lot of fans had with Jennifer Garner's portrayal of her. Like, at least in the Daredevil movies, like she's just too nice.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't be Elektra. You're just getting revenge because of your dad got killed by Bullseye, whatever. But you're not the character. And then they tried to make her a little darker in Elektra, like the spin-off movie.
Yeah.
But it was still like, it still didn't work. I don't know. I just felt like she was kind of miscast there. But the actress here, I think her name is Elodie Young.
Uh-huh.
She's really good, and she gives the character that sort of exotic flavor that Elektra's supposed to have.
Uh-huh.
I think her character's supposed to be Greek, but I think the actress is like was born in Paris, and she's got very like mixed European background.
I don't know what her accent is. I think it's British, but
yeah, it's like a British accent, but I think she was born in Paris. If I'm talking about the right thing, but she has that vibe where you can't quite like she has that look that she could play Greek or she could play different kinds of ethnicities. But regardless of what ethnicity she is, I mean, she looks exotic. Like, she looks like someone and the way she carries herself is very aristocratic, as opposed to in the movie version, she was just like this random white girl who walked into a coffee shop and you're like, I like her, she's pretty. I'm like, okay, but she doesn't have the same, to borrow the name of another Marvel anti-heroine, she doesn't have the same mystique as the comic book version and as the show already has demonstrated.
Yeah, Jennifer Garner looks like a white girl.
Yeah, she's not right.
And this actress, I don't know her name, but
I said it. Elodie Young.
Elodie Young.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, she has more like mixed roots. She could have some Greek in her. I don't know if they're gonna tie that in,
right?
And say like, oh, I'm Greek, but But she's not supposed to look like a white girl. That's not Elektra's character.
Right.
So, yeah, I think so far so good. I think they're doing a good job, like having the characters play off each other. I like the romance between Matt and Karen, and I think that might be a little bit dangerous later on because that's going to be a weakness for him.
Right.
Especially now they told Elektra that. Like, oh, I have somebody else.
Seeing somebody, and she's like,
I don't really know about her. She might find her as a threat, so I don't know if anything's gonna happen there.
Not that we think it's gonna boil down into a cat fight of like, he was mine.
No, it would be more, of just a sucker punch and then Karen's down.
Yeah, maybe. Elektra is sort of a wild card character. I do think that the Matt and Karen romance is interesting, and I like that they are exploring that because they were hinting at that heavily in the first season. Foggy's like, what's up, Karen? And Karen's like, looking at Matt, leave me alone. Even though they're also really good friends, and I like that friendship a lot.
Yeah.
I'm glad they haven't been emphasizing the love triangle part of it too much, because that's awfully cliche.
And it takes away from the real story.
Right.
Which the love triangle, it's beneath them.
Right.
And they're trying to focus on getting rid of crime and having justice. Even though I think it seemed like it was okay with Foggy, but now it seems like he's like thinking about it a little bit more and maybe not being as much okay with it now. Mm-hmm. Now that he's actually thought about it and he talked with his lawyer hookup person.
Yeah. Who made reference to Jessica Jones explicitly by name, which was cool.
Yeah, well, because she's no secret now. They all know
not anymore. Not after, especially after her story.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that might be addressed later.
Right.
But there's still a lot to come. We still have
like half the season left.
We still have stuff with the hand and stick, and I don't know if they're gonna go into what's it called, the Immortals or something like that, or
the Inhumans?
The Inhumans.
I don't think they're really gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna do that.
You know, they were hinting towards that.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing
the first
Inhumans
season
like crazy
of Daredevil with that kid that they were taking.
Yeah.
And so that might be where she's going with that. That might be like Elektra's intentions behind, like
maybe
because
we don't know what's motivating her.
That was also the Yakuza.
Yeah.
But the guy said that he's not working with the Yakuza, so I don't know if it's like a separate entity altogether.
Well, what is what's her name? The lady from the first season, the scary Asian lady who had like mystical powers. Madam something or
Madam Yao or something.
Yeah, she's fucking free. Well, she got away.
I think it's Yao.
I think that might be right. She got away. I mean, she didn't like get killed or anything. So no. I think she was like, wasn't she like the only? Ass. Wasn't she one of the only people? Because in the first season, Kingpin had that consortium of all these different crime bosses, and we're working with the Russians and the Yakuza and all this other. And I think she was like the only one left standing that didn't go to jail or get killed. Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Russian brothers got killed. The Yakuza, the Japanese guy, ended up being set on fire and died, or so we think.
Was that the red ninja in the first season?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was the main guy in the first season that was working with the Yakuza.
Right.
And then it was Madame Gao.
Oh, it's Gao. Okay.
I think it was Gao. Yeah. And she did like this like Mr. Miyagi shit on not Punisher, Daredevil, and like stunned and like knocked him down to the floor, and then he looked and she was gone. So she's got like something weird going on with her.
Right.
And then there was just Kingpin. So of course Kingpin's in jail. The other people are
dead,
and that's where the Irish people get in this one, and then you see how that works out with the Punisher.
Pretty much.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Madame Gao comes back in, and
that would be
later.
Exactly after the People versus Frank Castle storyline kind of runs its course. Maybe the last few episodes of the season will touch base with that.
Yeah, well, we don't know where right now Elektra is with Daredevil, so I don't know.
Yeah,
what they're gonna be getting into. Well, you haven't gone into this 7th episode.
No, I'm not in 7 yet.
All right, so
So what do you think about your buddy from The Walking Dead showing up here as Punisher? Do you think that he captures what you envision that character to be, as far as his ruthlessness with the criminal element, but also having sort of a softer side like that Karen's been bringing out in the conversation with his family and stuff?
I like his acting a lot in this show. He delivers the lines very good. He brings the script is so good, the dialogue. So it's it just works with his delivery and the amazing script that they've given him. It just like it provides all these like quotable moments where you're like, oh man, this is good shit right here. So and I think he's perfect because he has like that look, like not just like his face, but his body and everything. Like he has a very like muscular, brute, tough looking image,
Mhm.
and the delivery is exactly what you would think, Punisher would be like.
Yeah, he could pull off that "I'm dead inside" kind of like stone face thing.
Yeah.
But also emote a little bit more.
Yeah, when he's
needs
talking
to,
about
when
his
he's-
family,
right, when he's
of
talking
course,
about,
and his daughter.
Frank Jr., blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I think
He's a very good actor.
yeah, he's good in it.
He was good on The Walking Dead, and Shane was a little bit like Punisher in ways, where, of course he's like this domineering force, and he wants to be like a leader, and he has very radical things for
Ways to handle the
ways to
walkers,
handle the walkers and other people and the apocalypse and everything. But it wasn't anything like Punisher.
Not on this level where everybody's like, oh my god, there's an army in town. Like, no, just one guy with a lot of weapons. He's just awesome.
Exactly. Like Punisher has like similar moments of Shane's character, but then it's like it's transcended past that to like a whole other to an even deeper character than anywhere near Shane was, because Shane, he was good, but obviously he doesn't last because he's on Daredevil. So,
well, if you Walking Dead,
yeah,
he didn't want to last, yeah.
Obviously, because
the whole conversation with him and Daredevil on the rooftop, like the fight with Daredevil, and then later on the conversation when I think when Daredevil's chained up is when they have the conversation about, oh, you think you're a hero, blah blah blah, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that
was great, and that was perfect way to set the tone, considering we're gonna get very similar conversations in Captain America: Civil War and Batman v Superman. Because this is sort of the year of hero versus hero. And, which obviously Loot Crate, which we talked about in the last episode, is exploiting because, hey, that's the thing right now.
Yeah.
But it really sort of drove home all those themes about, that great line where he says, when you hit them, they get back up. When I hit them, they stay down. Yeah. Sort of, well, who's right? I mean, well, it depends on how you feel about it.
He had several lines like that.
Oh, yeah. They were so quotable.
It was just so
And, of
amazing.
course, they plucked them out of there and like, trailer? Those are trailer lines. Give me that.
Yeah.
Some of them were in the trailer because, hey.
But other ones that weren't even in the trailer, they were like, I was like, oh, man.
But you used lines like, like
the whole rooftop scene where they're just talking.
You used lines like the one I said for the trailer because they really crystallized, like, oh, people, like somebody watching the trailer being like, okay, what the hell? Why are these two fighting? That's why they fight. You capture it in that one line of dialogue and you throw it in there to sort of sell the concept of that, yeah, they're fighting and they use their fists and they're, kicking each other's asses and shooting each other in the head. But
you show where they're coming from.
It's the ideological difference. It's like here, Daredevil is like, Daredevil's perspective is, I take him down and then the justice system takes over. Hopefully. I mean, that's his hope at least. Punisher's like, no, fuck the justice system. I just blow him away, and then there you go.
He wants to be jury, judge, executioner.
He's like Judge Dredd a little
bit. I think that they use that in the comic books too, judge, jury, executioner, because that's what he does. He takes matters into his own hands, and instead of putting the cuffs on him and hoping the justice system takes its course. You have to admit, though, sometimes the justice system could be skewed.
Right.
Especially if the person has great deals of money. So his thinking is that I want these people that killed my family to be dead for good. I don't want to leave it up to somebody else. And, he ended up killing like over 100 people in the counts that they read to him. So there's no way that the justice system will be able to handle all those people anyways.
Well, and it's interesting too because in the Daredevil film,
there's not enough evidence.
I keep going back to the Daredevil movie, even though most fans are like, "Stop doing that! That was terrible."
Yeah,
I didn't think it was terrible. I actually liked the director's cut. I think it's decent. It's not amazing, but it's not shitty. Like the theatrical cut makes like no sense. The second half of the movie, things just happen. You're like, "Wait, how did this happen?"
It's more fantastical.
Well, yeah, obviously.
In ways.
There's like in the CG, the use of CG in there is shoddy sometimes. But in that film, his whole modus operandi is he's like, I'm a lawyer and I defend them, and then justice doesn't run its course, like you said. He's like, I track him down afterwards, and then I leads him on a train track to get run over and shit like that. Like, he's more hardcore in the movie, but on the show, you need him not to be hardcore because you need Punisher to hurt. So you need that contrast of the two of them. So they really hone in on, like, you know, in the first episode, I even said to you, we were watching it, like, if he wasn't Marvel's Batman before, this is really, like, establishing the people walking down an alley and then grabbed and then kicked ass and then left there.
Yeah, in the very first...
Yeah, the beginning, sort of, like, he's been out doing
sequence.
that a while. People know Daredevil's a thing.
And another thing that I love, speaking of action sequences, the staircase scene.
Yeah, oh yeah.
When he knocks out Frank Castle, the Punisher, puts him in the elevator, and then all the I believe it was the dogs of hell, they start coming up the stairs because their bikes blow up. So they come, and so, like, he goes down the stairs, and he just, like, I believe it was all in one take as well, just like the hallway scene. Except it's just following Daredevil down the stairs.
A little more ambitious because there's more motion involved.
Yeah. And it's incredible how you see him, like, flipping dudes down the steps and tackling two guys at once and doing all these it's amazing. And then you go down to the bottom.
It's still amazing in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like those lovable moments in the first season where the fight sequences.
Right.
And then he goes down to the first story, and then it goes to where the elevator goes down, and Frank Castle's, like, right there in the elevator, knocked out, like, still. And he just, like, takes care of them. Okay, I'm gonna take you.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Out of here.
I love when they say the Punisher for the first time. I even pointed it out to you, where he's like, they call him pause for effect. It's like almost fucking Despicable Me. It's like, we're going to steal pause for effect the moon. It's like they couldn't calling him the Punisher.
It's like
the way they say it.
It's like they're trying to they're trying to listen for like they're trying to build it up like like wait for like are you gonna say it?
Yeah,
you did.
Which was great. So I guess so far we're already really on board the idea of a Punisher show, which has been discussed, many times about them, how they've said it's a possibility, blah blah blah, and all that. I think that's going to be announced pretty fast.
I don't.
Do you think that could work?
I don't know if that could work as much.
Really?
Punisher doesn't have as much depth as Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
He has the thing with Daredevil is that his ability is unique. He plays an alias. He has he has his separate business, attorneys and everything.
He has his built-in supporting cast.
He has his built-in supporting cast.
Yeah.
He already has people in the city that he's already fighting. Punisher, I mean, that doesn't really matter, the last part, but still, he has like a basis that you could like write scripted stuff off of.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could
he has
do
a world. He has a world
a,
around him that you can.
Punisher doesn't have a world.
Punisher's
he's a man.
Yeah, he's a loner who's like, I just travel from place to place killing
motherfuckers.
motherfuckers.
The season would be if it's his own thing, because he doesn't have friends like that really.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. He would just be like trying to fight. It'd be like an action movie where he's like trying to take down an organization all by himself.
Right. And 13 hours of that, you feel like it wouldn't really sustain.
Yeah, it doesn't have that complexity like Daredevil or Jessica Jones and stuff. Or even like Iron Fist or Luke Cage. Mm-hmm. I mean, Luke Cage though, he's a little bit on that side too.
But he's gonna. Maybe his season is gonna be. The first season of the Luke Cage show will be sort of
explaining
the evolution.
His parents.
Well, but also the evolution of him being like, I just do my own thing. I just want to lay low. To the point, to the end where he's like, no, I need to do some good. And I need to like make a difference and stuff. Because eventually, like we talked about last episode, eventually in the comics, he teams up with Iron Fist and they become heroes for hire. So, presumably Luke Cage's journey would end with him deciding to want to be a hero. But for Punisher, I mean, he doesn't really, to my knowledge, in the comics, he doesn't really evolve a whole lot. Like, his thing is he doesn't change. He's a force of nature. He comes in, he kills people, he leaves. how do you make and that's possibly part of the reason why
a movie didn't work.
Why a Punisher movie leaves audience sort of like, nothing happened. He just killed people.
He's really good as like a supporting superhero.
Right.
But I don't know how long you could write stories for him. Mm-hmm. Just because I don't. I'm sure there's a way. But if it's just gonna be like him tracking down, it's gonna be trickier. If it's just him tracking down like people and taking down organizations, like I said, it's gonna get old fast, I feel.
Well, and it's interesting too because Daredevil and Jessica Jones are both superhero shows, obviously, but they work as TV shows because they have sort of a built-in framework. Like even if you take the superhero aspect aside from Daredevil, it's a lawyer show. It's a legal procedural show, and you deal with, them trying to win cases.
You can have different stories at the same time.
Jessica Jones is a noir. It's a detective story. But
there's different storylines going at the same time. The thing is with Punisher, what other different storyline can you do?
Right. There's not really a built-in framework that you could apply to the Punisher.
That's what makes Daredevil so good, is that you have like a storyline with Karen. You have like a little thing that's going on with Foggy. You have Daredevil and a Matt story. It's kind of like different stories for each persona that he has. Mm-hmm. Punisher, unless he gets like a love interest, or he tries to and humanize himself.
Well, they've already started to build on the humanizing part of him. Like they've in episode 6, I guess.
Like he's trying
to
humanized
him a lot. Like he was talking, like kind of relating to Karen about his family and all that.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless season 1 of the Punisher show is him hunting down the man that like placed the order to kill his family, sort of, which is what the 2004 Tom Jane, John Travolta movie's about.
Yeah.
Unless it's about that, how do you really, what motivation can you give him that's strong enough to drive him through 13 episodes of story?
Yeah, because
Jessica Jones' whole thing was like, this guy ruined my life, I need to kill him, and Punisher, like Jessica Jones, is also sort of selfishly motivated to a certain point. Daredevil is like, I want to do good, I want to help people, blah, blah, blah. Those other two don't give a fuck. I mean, at least at the beginning, they don't really care about, I gotta help people and make a difference, and they're just like, whatever.
Yeah, unless he has a change of mindset.
Which is possible. Maybe, I mean, yeah.
But as far as it looks right now, you can't really delve, you've already delved into his backstory. You know what I mean?
Right.
That his family was taken away from him. He said, like, emotional, monologues about, like, his daughter and his family. And so how long can you keep doing that before, like, that one incident that happens in his life just, like, loses his effectiveness? Mm-hmm. So you're I'm on the fence with the Punisher.
You'd like to see more Punisher, but you don't know if him leading a show is the right way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think there's a good chance that at the very least he'll either, we'll see if he's successful.
We'll see more of him.
Yeah, we'll see more of him either in Daredevil season 3 or like the Defenders thing. Like we'll see more of him somewhere probably.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see more of him.
But you're just concerned about how that story would work.
If they do take on a show, I just feel like it would be difficult. I mean, with the Punisher that we have right now,
right?
Unless he like changes his ways or gets a different outlook, then there might be some story that comes out of there. But as far as this, it would be very hard for them to create storylines
without adding
supporting characters,
more dimension
and more
to
dimension.
him and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, Blade is also sort of a loner character, and Blade had Whistler. Batman had Alfred. So I mean, sure, there might be somebody in the comics that we're not aware of because we're not as well versed on the Punisher lore as some people.
Maybe the guy that, I don't know if you saw. Never mind, you didn't see the 7th episode.
No, you're like, what is that, man? We watched 6 hours of TV,
well, he mentions,
and then you watch half hour. You're like, I don't want to ruin it.
He mentions one of his eyewitnesses is some sort of colonel.
Okay.
So maybe like this colonel is Maybe they could flash back to the
they're
war.
Planting seeds? You think they're planting seeds in here for what his story would be? They probably are.
I'm sure. I'm sure this is like a quasi Punisher first season.
It's a backdoor pilot to Punisher.
Like I said, I believe the last episode, it's going to be like a quasi Punisher season, so they can go on to another season if they want to.
Everybody's saying, "Oh, this is done. This is received well," which I mean, come on, it will be. We're gonna do a Punisher show, blah blah blah. But do you think there's a chance, or do you even want to see, or do you think it would work if they did an Elektra show? Because I sort of would want to see that, maybe not quite as much as the Punisher, but maybe even more so. I think it might work better as a television series. Well, because there's more ground to cover with her. Granted, we haven't finished this season, but in the comics, I mean, you have the whole thing with Bullseye where she gets killed and then she comes back and she's trained by the Hand.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that they're going to allude to here. I believe that she might be working for the Hand right now, right? Because we know that the Hand comes in later in the season, and of course Styx shows up as well, right? So I don't know if that's going to tie in. I don't even know if she is working for the Hand or she's doing something aside from the Hand. Right? I'm just assuming
they don't cover that in the first half of episode 7.
No, no, they don't. I'm just assuming that she is, but she might be doing something separate, and but they could go into her backstory and be like, okay, this is why, this is when she trained for the Hand and all this.
I could see Marvel feeling like maybe people are more ready for a Punisher show, and I could see them developing a spinoff of that first, and then maybe Daredevil season 3 is where they could bring in Bullseye. And that's where the thing with Elektra could go down and then open up for an Elektra series after that. Because there was talks about whether or not Bullseye was going to be in season 2 of Daredevil. And to tell that story, I guess.
Maybe toward the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him being here. I would think we would know by now if he was going to show up. If they were going to bring him in there at this point.
They might.
Maybe they'll reference him.
I don't know. Maybe someone will get shot and...
Someone will get shot like right in the middle, like perfectly,
toward the end, and that'll be like allude to it being Bullseye.
Maybe they can get Colin Farrell back with the tattooed forehead. Bullseye, because he was great.
I mean, who shot Punisher?
It's true.
I mean, he got a shot right through the head. One shot.
We can get a name drop at least of get me Bullseye or whatever, and then you don't see him until next season or something.
So maybe Punisher will go after this Bullseye character.
Maybe. I mean, if we don't see him this season, I think
because
it's pretty
from what we've heard so far, he heard from a distance his family. He wasn't even there when it happened. He heard it happening, and when he came, there's just shreds of his family all over the place.
Right.
Unrecognizable shreds of his family. And then he gets a single shot to the head, and he almost died. And, of course he pulled through.
Which, Karen, I think it was Karen, looking at the x-ray of his skull. I thought that was really cool, and it's kind of subtle foreshadowing. Guess what? Maybe he'll put this on a shirt at some time. Yeah. I thought that was cool. And I bet him wearing a shirt with the skull on it will probably be emblematic of his character arc somehow, where he's like, oh, so I don't forget my past or whatever, some random thing like that.
Yeah, because he has as of now, he's having problem forgetting, or remembering.
That's true.
Remembering his family, and so talking about it with Karen helps bring back the memories and bring back his family.
So maybe by the end of the season, he'll be humanized enough.
And I think in order to keep him on the straight path, that symbol maybe will help him remember his family and remember why he's fighting in the first place.
Not going to stop him from killing people, but...
No, that's why he's fighting.
Right. It helps motivate him. So maybe by the end of the season...
So it doesn't happen to other people.
Maybe by the end of the season, he'll decide, maybe I do want to make a difference, and maybe I do want to hunt down more of these scumbags or whatever, and then that'll lead into a Punisher show. I mean, I'd like to. I mean, regardless, I'll watch it. But
anything Marvel.
Yeah, you don't want the quality to dip down.
Unless it's on ABC, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, they were already renewed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for season 4, and I don't know about Agent Carter. I'm not sure if it's gotten renewed. I haven't heard. But I mean, if those stories were condensed and focused like the Netflix series, I would probably be more likely to be like, oh my god, it's S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah.
Exactly.
But it just feels like a watered down version of it.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, so far, Daredevil season 2, enjoying it a lot. I can't really compare it to season 1, at least not yet. Like, I don't want to be one of those season 1 was better or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've heard some reviews that are alluding to it's not as quite as good as the first season or whatever. But I'm going to reserve judgment until I finish the whole season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, it's like walking out in the middle of a movie and be like, this is stupid. I'm like, well, how did it end? Did you finish it? I'm like, no. Well, then you can't really judge something unless you've experienced it completely. And that's why I don't really walk out of movies. Because it's, you never know. Maybe it could be like The Usual Suspects, which is my experience with that movie, which is, it's a decent movie. It was fine, whatever, blah, blah, blah. By the end, then at the end of it, I was like, holy fuck, that movie was awesome because that twist changes the way you see all like 2 hours that came before it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold off on what I think of Daredevil season 2 versus season 1 until I'm all caught up. But I mean, I'm looking forward to catching up on the rest of it. I mean, now my next thing to watch is Beast of No Nation and Pee-wee's Big Holiday for our next episode. But
yeah, because on Tuesday we're gonna be posting a Netflix original motion picture episode where we're gonna be talking about Crouching Tiger,
Hidden Dragon, Sword of Destiny.
Sword of Destiny, that's what I was thinking.
It's a long title.
I was like, what is it, Sword of Destiny? I know it's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
They changed it a few times. It was going to be like Green Legend or Green, because the sword is called the Green Destiny.
Yeah.
Which was that movie, the first one was amazing, but we'll get to that.
And then... Oh, you're going to...
Go ahead. You can finish.
Well, and then we're going to go to Beast of No Nation. And then we're going to go to Pee-wee. Their Pee-wee's Big Time or
Big
something?
Holiday.
Big Holiday.
Pee-wee's Big Time.
It's
like
time.
Pee-wee like sitting in a mansion. Like, yeah, Pee-wee's Big Time.
Pee-wee's Big Time.
So that'll be coming up on Tuesday. Do we have any other thoughts on Daredevil season 2? The first half, at least?
No, I think we talked about pretty.
Yeah, I think we covered
everything.
A lot of it. I mean, I'm sure we'll have more to say down the line in future episodes. We'll reference, our thoughts on the remaining part of the season. But we wanted to get this up for people that were like us, really excited to see season 2 and kind of get our initial feedback on the first few episodes. So, if you've seen Daredevil season 2, let us know what you think. You could reach me on Twitter at Crooked Table.
You can reach me on Twitter at Freddy with a Y _ Yanez YANIZ.
You can also find Crooked Table on Facebook, on YouTube. Watch some of my movie reviews. I think the most recent one is still 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm going to be trying to get another one up there as soon as possible. Normally I would try and get them up there on Fridays, but didn't really have a chance to get anything done video-wise today since I was watching Daredevil. But I'll get one up there as soon as possible. Keep checking back for more. Of course, visit crookedtable.com for reviews, podcasts, reviews, videos, other movie-related goodies. Also, check back on Tuesday. We're going to have another podcast episode as we were talking about. So definitely excited to hear what you guys thought about Daredevil season 2, and guess we'll catch you next time. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, roll credits.
This has been a production of crookedtable.com. All rights reserved.
CROOKED.